Good morning and bom dia to everyone who's people starting to watch my channel in this village at least. Um, so bom dia to you, the Portuguese folks watching, and magandang umaga to everyone in the Philippines. Um, I'm wearing this thing. It's a t-shirt because it is freezing here. It's really cold. A cold start of the day, but it doesn't stay like that in Portugal. A bit of advice to people in England maybe considering doing this. Portugal's not hot all the time, and so don't come out here with a few t-shirts and shorts and just think you're going to be okay, because you're going to be really cold at night. You can get very clear skies here, which causes it to be very cold. So I got this t-shirt on to keep my head warm because I'm freezing. Okay, got a lot of problems here with this job. Um, I'm just going around in circles trying to find somebody to sell me eucalyptus trees in order to make a floor for the upstairs. And if you listen to people, people will go by and they just say something and this and that, the other. And an old guy went past and he said, "Concrete, concrete is the concrete." Well, I personally hate concrete, but I have to admit that it is quick, relatively cheap, and boy is it durable because basically you're creating artificial stone, and stone lasts for millions of years. So if you made a piece of concrete well, it'll probably last millions of years. So I can't fault it on that. And compared to wood and stuff, and it's also not flammable and everything. So that's good. So um, I've got to do the top of this house to make a sort of living accommodation for myself and family when I bring them over. So that was the plan. That's plan A. We will make a giant living room, and we'll stay in that while we do the bedrooms underneath, and that'll be a good plan. And it's turning out to be a nightmare because the problem is that I've got to do the roof, and now I've got a donation of a load of tiles to do the roof, but I've still got to do it. I'm the guy who's got to do it. I've got to do the roof. I've got to do this floor. I've got to put windows in up here, which is it's not. It's okay. I can do it, but it's all a large amount of work all in one go. And flying here last night, and I'm going around sort of spying on what other people are doing, other people in the village, how they did their houses and why did they do that and whatever. And there's a guy down the road there, John. He is renovating his grandfather's house, which he's inherited. And what he's done is he's put a concrete floor in between the top and bottom. And the guy who did it is a cousin of his, and he lives in the village. And he is making me think maybe I could do that. Maybe I could just put this concrete floor in. Why would that be a good thing? Because then, by putting the concrete floor in, I could get what's called a visqueen sheet, which is a big plastic sheet that you lay on the floor when you lay concrete on the ground floor. I could buy one of them, throw it in the house, and lay it on the floor, and then lay a small amount of it out of the front window, so that if it rained at all, any water coming in wouldn't seep through the concrete roof that I've just ceiling that I've just created. It would just pool on that, and eventually it would run out the front of the house. So what have I now gone and done? I've created a downstairs area which is now dry, uh, and that I can work in. So this downstairs area, um, I can then mess around and put my own floor in on the bottom of that downstairs, because it's not critical. It's not a critical structure. So you could put paving slabs down, you could put tiles of some sort, you could do all sorts of things, and I have a particular idea for that. And because that's not structurally critical, because it's just lying on the ground, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the plan B is, first of all, scrap plan A and get this guy to lay a large concrete floor here. So that will just be like a cookie jar top, if you like, which will now create an area downstairs that you can live in. Now, personally, I don't like all that stonework. I can plaster it. But what we're looking at here that I'm standing on is basically the quality of scaffolding. It's bouncy. You wouldn't want to make a floor like that, because I can't get a hold of these eucalyptus trees, which are needed in order to make cross beams to make this floor stiff and like a normal floor. I will get them. Somebody somewhere will turn up with these things, but I haven't got all the time in the world to wait for these things. So the idea now is, and I'm getting sick of living in a tent. So what I'm thinking is, on the other side there's a functional door which is already constructed. This side is just kind of shuttered up with stuff, but on that side there's a functional door. So what I'm thinking is, I will take some of the thin planks that I've got, or rather, possibly not even these, possibly the stuff that I've had donated, and create a ceiling over an area there, which will then create for me a tiny house. So I've now got myself a tiny house over there. In fact, with this side, if I did it on this side, I've got this hideous. I don't know if this is focusing properly. I'm trying my best. It's all I've got. I've got this hideous stone lump here down there, which is all going to be chiseled out or kept, as the case may be, if I need to use it as a support for a fire. But I really don't want to do that. I've got a very particular plan for my fire. It's going to be in the center of the room. And the reason for that is because a wood-fired stove or any fire is basically a giant infrared light bulb. And the place to put the light bulb is, if you've only got one, is stick it in the middle of the room, not in some corner. And you can sit in temperatures which are relatively cool, but because you're being bathed by this radiation of this fire, you can stay warm. Okay. If I do it on that side, on the other side over there, I can use that cross beam, and in sight, yes. Use that cross beam there as a wall. And all I have to do is get all this crappy wood that I'm being donated and put it along there and nail it on, and it can sort of hang downwards. I don't have to do a good job. I just got to get it up. And that will create a giant single room for me. And I can install a wood-fired stove in that place and lead it. Oh, yeah, there. Brilliant. I forgot about that window. The window opposite, I can lead the wood-fired stove up and out through that window. Don't even need to have a window there. And the smoke can go out there. And that's that. So that's my tiny house within a house. I got the front door on and I'm sorted. So I come back here in the winter time and I'm warm. And I put the fire on. And if I don't want to work someday, I can lie in bed and relax or whatever. Because for me, that's a tremendous amount of space. When you consider the amount of space that I've lived in the past. that boat in Watchet Harbour was only 6.5 feet by 6 feet internal spaces in the living area. And I was perfectly happy there. I might even make it smaller. I might make it where that window is to the edge of the window, because the smaller it is, the easier it is to heat. And as I say, for me, that is a tremendous amount of space. So what I've got to do is dig out all this rubbish here, down there. Horrible job. And clear that. Well, at least clear the rubbish away from there so I can put the tiny house thing in. Now, you don't want to be walking around on horrible rubble and stuff, even though you've created yourself a temporary home there. You don't be walking around on rubble and stuff. But I've got all this wood that I've purchased for this floor here, which I can use temporarily down there in the tiny house to act as a floor. So that's sorted. And that seems to be a viable option. Now, when all of the bottom area is done and plastered and looking beautiful and everything, then I'm free to bring my family across, because I need somewhere for them to live, but it doesn't have to be big. And that is it's quite a reasonable size house. I've seen people living in Bahay Kubos in the Philippines in much smaller space. We could live comfortably, warm, everything. And on the top here, every day I can come out, I can make a mess in here, I can do anything I like, because there's a concrete floor between me up here and the family down there. And I can even do the most extreme thing, which is to strip the roof off, take the roof off, and redo it. In fact, as I'm saying this, I'm wondering about whether I should even faff around with what I'm doing at the moment on the roof that I'm trying to fix. This roof, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I should just strip the whole damn thing off. There are some serious issues with this roof. First of all, it was never made very well. Sorry, Portuguese folks, but you must have been pushed at the time. 1910, I think it was built. The roof beams here running across here, for a roof of this size with slate with tiles on, get my hand in there, that roof there, that beam there, and the beam at the back there, they're very, by my standards, they're very slim. They're not up to a lot. And I could do a much grander job of that. There's also this thing, it's called, there's a line, a line along, a line along where things lie on, the beams lie on it. It's a plank of wood which runs right round the building. And that's called a top plate. And it doesn't look in good condition to me. Now, it could be in pristine nick. It could be made of oak or something, and it could last hundreds of years, and it might just be covered in rubbish, and it might not be nicely made, but it could be very strong and last for years. But I don't know the answer to that, and I'm going to chance it. So what I'm thinking is I will take it out and replace it with concrete, with a concrete edge, but with steel reinforcing it. Now, there are people on the Portugal project, I think, and I don't know, I think the Portugal project, he did it. Jasper on the Portugal project. I think he did that with his top plate. And certainly I'm fairly sure that the leading edge of the roof there, he put a clean concrete line on there. And we're able to do this in the 21st century, because you can get things trucked in and stuff, and it wasn't around, and it wasn't that easy in 1910 to probably do these things. So let's do it within limits. I don't want to live in a concrete house. So that's the plan. Now, the front of the house I know this sounds crazy, but when I'm doing a project, certainly like renovating a house, and I have renovated one house already, um, I like to just bring in some element of normality so that you have, I don't know, the pretty things in life, you know. And for me, that is a garden. So when you start planting things, like if you plant a tree, for example, it takes a long time to grow. Or plants, they take a long time to grow. So the earlier you get them in, they're just doing their own business and they're just growing and prospering while you're working around them. They're minding their own business, but they're making your life prettier. Now, I've got these, I think they might be called Livingston daisies, I'm not sure. I've planted these things here. I get shot on that. So that's a bougainvillea, and that's two flowers, which will open up later when the sun comes out. The bougainvillea lost all of its flowers carrying it home from the DIY place, Leroy Marlin. Merlin. So it'll grow some new ones. Now, immigration, if they say, senor, uh, have you got a home for your family to live in? I say, oh, yes, home, all right. If I show them this thing, they'll just roll their eyes and say, no. However, if I can get this looking a bit spiff, get this bottom floor thing constructed, possibly even get some shutters on the doors and windows and stuff above, then I'm in with a chance of making it a realistic prospect of us living here in this thing. So I'm running out of money. So one of the big jobs I think I should probably do is continue with stripping off this crap. I mean, the plaster and this Phoenix thing. I really want this Phoenix thing to go. So stripping that off. Now, what I was talking about I have an intact door, a door that works. Down in the bottom of the building is the door, which is the front door. It's in a right state, but I could botch that up and refit it because there's no point in creating things which I'm going to wreck anyway because I don't want that anyway. I want to have in these things here. I want to have steel, French door type things, as well as a shutter which will go over the top. And I want the shutter to look really well made. I'm going to make them myself. And the steel things I'm also going to make, but I'll take them off. I think there's a car body repair place here, and I'll just cart them off there on a wheelbarrow, walk over there, it's at the other side of the village, get the guy to weld the bits together, and then bring them back and then fit them. So this is going to work. It's all about finding the resources in terms of not just the resource, but also the people to do various things. So I'll get that tacked together, and then I'll have my lovely big French windows to look at my view, which is really important to me. What else? What else? So that's plan B. So plan B is now dictated by the visit to the guy in the village who will show up at some time to start work on his place, and I'll tell him to pop over and give me an estimate and see how it goes. But regardless of what he says, whether if I can't afford him or what, I still think I'll do Plan B. I'll just have to do it myself though, and I really don't want to be mixing cement and stuff because I don't have a cement mixer, so I'll have to do it by hand. He's got a cement mixer, and he doesn't have to do it by hand. He's got workers and so on. I'm a teacher, and teachers don't, we've got. I'll get told off by teachers if I say this, but if you're on a pension and you're retired and you go and do some teaching, well, obviously that's good money coming in, and I can make more money teaching than I can save by mixing concrete. And teaching, my God, is a lot easier than shoveling gravel and making concrete. So what I'm thinking is, if I have to go to the UK and do a couple of weeks extra work, I can make enough money to pay for the floor. So it's all very dependent on how much work I get and so on. Where I can fit all this stuff in. But you know, he can do this concreting job in a couple of days. It'll probably take me a month of mixing it. And I have laid a concrete floor once before, and I never want to do it again. If I do the concrete floor on the bottom here, it'll be in concrete slabs. There's a thing called a Mexican saltillo tile, and I reckon I can make that with concrete and just make paving slabs. So all I'll do is I'll make a paving slab one day, and then I'll lay it, make another one, lay it, and so on. And then you don't get too exhausted. You're just doing a little bit at a time. And that's it, really. So that's the project for today, to find out what the estimate is on this. And I can now get started on chisel, because as I say, it's very cold today. I think it's going to be a bit overcast, so the sunshine is not going to be too bad, and that gives me the chance to work outside. So I'm going to chisel on this wall and see what I can get off, get removed from one task out the way, and then it's move indoors time. So I'm going to have to push this door in, get inside, and start on this tiny house project, which I'll probably do tomorrow, because I'm going to need to buy a spade, a shovel, to get in there and clear that. I didn't really. I've been using this area here as a dumping site. It's a piece of land that I own, a small bit, about the size of well, 1.5 cars wide. I'm dumping my rubble here, from the plaster off the front of the house. But I just realised that I've got all this space inside the house where I can store all of um, the debris that I'm going to be creating as a result of um, clearing the floor in order to start on this tiny house project. So build it all up as a big pile of rubble, and then order a skip and get the whole lot into the skip, and that's that. So hopefully soon I'll have the tiny house done, and then I can get inside of it and I can stop sleeping out in the garden, because um, I've got the sound of cockroaches chirping all night. I've got dogs barking all night. I've got critters wandering around. The possibility of wild boars coming in and just going through everything. I've got flies buzzing around. There are thousands of flies because it's so dry here. I think these are sand flies, and that's what's going on in Portugal. They've got more sand flies than we would have because of the dry landscape. So they're pestering me, and I've got mosquitoes. Um, so I think if I get into a building, I don't think uh, I'll have such a problem with them. And of course, I'll have solid walls as well, so I'll get rid of them. Right, that's everything about the way things are at the moment. Sorry if it bores people, but there are people in my family who want to know what I'm doing, and I would like my son, well, both sons, the big ones, not the little ones, to pass their opinion, because um, I have to think all this stuff out myself, and it's having to think all the time, 24/7, because things here, they're not the same as in the UK. You live in this environment for a while, and then you begin to realise that the things that obsess you in the UK just are complete irrelevance here. For example, you think about damp. This is quite a dry environment, so damp is not really an issue. Um, we would be panicking about having a wall that butted up against a rock structure, because we'd be thinking we'd be getting damp. we would be thinking, oh my God, we've got to get insulation under the floor, because you'd be thinking, oh, how cold it'll be. But actually being a little bit cold in Portugal is not really necessarily that bad, because it's, it's damned hot in the summer. So a house which is a bit on the cool side is probably a big plus. So there you go. So Jesus be with you.